happy May 1st. It is Tracy coming to you live from Golden Dog Adventure Company headquarters, and I'm here today with our May featured expert, Laura Gendron of Misbehavior Training. How are you, Laura?
Hi, I'm good today. It's beautiful out, so I'm
Oh, it
very
is, I
happy.
know. This week we've been really fortunate, but guess what? There's rain coming this weekend.
No, I don't want to hear it. It's always on the weekends. The weekends are when I can catch
I
up on
know we
my outside
cannot
stuff.
have a repeat of 2023. We
No,
cannot.
no,
So, but
no.
yeah, it was nice to get out and enjoy the beautiful weather this week.
Yeah.
So great to have you here. I appreciate it. So this is the time each month where we go live with our featured expert and we give you a highlight as to what's going on, what we're going to be teaching, what we're going to be hosting. So you can get a little bit more of a sense of the lesson. And also, if you have any questions for our featured expert, you can get those answered, whether you are watching live or on the replay. If you are on the replay, just tag us and we'll make sure we get answers to your questions. So Laura, before we jump into it, for anybody who's not familiar with you, can you tell us a little bit about your expertise and what you do at Misbehavior Training?
Sure. All right. So I have always loved dogs, right? Thought I would be a vet one day. Decided that was a little bit too high pressure for me. And then so didn't know what I wanted to do, went to UNH, ended up going to intern at the New Hampshire SPCA, got addicted from there. I was like, oh no, it's definitely behavior is definitely my thing. So I went off to college, took all the college classes, vet tech type stuff, and then psychology classes, which was, I guess, mostly like child development side of psychology. And then I just realized that I really love the psychology piece, but I also really love dogs. And I'm like, I don't know what to do with all this. So I went and basically created my business based on my experience from working at the New Hampshire SPCA under the head of behavior there, teaching classes. And then also book experience, but honestly, it was mostly the working with dogs hands-on that gave me most of my experience. And then from there, it just sort of took off and I opened my business. So my business now is Misbehavior is the name of it. I started that in 2008. So it's been a while now. I always have to do the math to figure out how long, but I'll be going on, I don't know, 17 years or something like that. So it's changed over the years quite a bit, group classes to private training. And now I actually do a lot of virtual consults and coaching. So it's kind of gone more from training to coaching. And that's kind of where I am right now. And so I run a membership. So there's a lot of coaching in there. It's a virtual membership. And I also do private training and coaching with clients. So we do a lot of the virtual stuff. And then if they're local and it's appropriate for the dog, if the dog's ready, person's ready, then we'll do some sessions in person where basically we're taking what we've been working on and applying them in person. So it's not so much, again, about the training piece of it. I am a licensed family dog mediator and also a certified professional dog trainer. But as a licensed family dog mediator, what that means is that I take what I know about the dog side of things, and then I take what I know about people, and I get to know everybody on the team, and it becomes a partnership or bigger. It might not just be a couple. It might be we're working with veterinarians, working with the groomer, working with everybody. And I'm kind of the mediator in between. So I'm helping you understand your dog better. I'm helping you figure out what their learning history is, what kind of environment they're in, how that affects their behavior. We look a lot at genetics. So we're looking at the different breed groups. And even though it's not all about genetics, we're exploring how their genetics do play a role. We're looking at their medical needs, deciding if we need to work with a veterinarian, stuff like that. So that is kind of where I am now. So it's a lot of coaching, a lot of family dog mediation, and a million other things that I want to get involved in all the time.
Yep, I hear you there.
Yeah.
Well, and in that mediation role, I think the theme for this month makes a lot of sense, which is strengthening trust through choice and play. And I really, really love this because, and you alluded to this quite a bit, the balance, the roles between working with the handlers, working with the dogs themselves, not just focusing on one aspect, and really bringing them together and understanding both sides. So I think that our theme for this month makes a lot of sense. Can you talk a little bit about this theme and, how you came up with it?
Yeah, so I guess going along with the fact that I don't do so much of the training anymore, and I'm working more with people, so most of my sessions are people focused, right? So I often am hearing about how complicated life is these days with our dogs, and because life is busy in general, but then also dogs, modern day dogs, they live different lives than they did 10, 20 years ago. Expectations are different. So people are very quickly overwhelmed by all of the things. And then with the internet, there's so much information you can get out there. So it becomes even more overwhelming. So we're kind of going back to not the basics, but some of the foundational stuff in what we're going to be talking about this month. So dogs have 3 categories of behavior, which I obviously won't go into depth about now. But there are 3 categories that everything a dog does falls into one of 3 categories. And so hazard avoidance, social, and foraging. And so we can break everything down into those 3 categories. And so if we're looking at a behavior that they're offering or that they're doing, it's going to fit into one of those categories, sometimes more than one, sometimes 2, not usually all 3. And so we want to know what category they're in and see if we can shift them a little bit. So that doesn't end up taking more work on our part. We just have to sort of change the picture on them. So maybe instead of, if they're worried about going out and about somewhere, or they're worried about getting in the car. I've been doing a lot of work with dogs in cars. They're worried about going in the car because they think the car leads to something hard and scary, maybe. So can we switch that, and can we turn going in the car into more of a foraging experience, and more of a social experience for them? And there are ways to do that aren't necessarily, it's not training. It's not these like tiny little steps that you have to take towards the goal. It's just, they're almost like hacks, you're just you're switching things up. So it makes life for people, for you guys, easier, and then makes life for the dogs a little more clear. So we're going to be talking about a lot of patterns within the day. We'll be talking about those 3 categories of behavior and ways that you can easily sort of read your dog better, know where they're at, and then use games, use play, use enrichment strategies to meet their needs better that way. So that's kind of the overall look at what we'll be talking about.
Well, I love what you say about looking back at the foundation and making it sure it's strong. I know you've had a lot of imagery in the past with building blocks and things like that. So I know that's really an important aspect for you. And it is for me too, because I feel, if you really want to be good at something, you have to constantly practice. And the only way you can do that is to understand the foundational elements, and practice those. So I'm glad that you always go back to focusing on those to make sure people are building with their blocks correctly versus, trying new things out here without, making sure that foundation's solid. So I know you're going to be talking quite a bit in our pop-up talk, which is on a Tuesday, May 6th at 7 p.m. About play, pause, and connect. I love this title that we came up with. Is your dog trying to tell you something? Learn how to read their mind, almost. So talk to that a little bit if you could.
Yeah, so I think kind of like what I was talking about before is, if we are, oops, sorry, I'm hitting buttons over here. Put my hands up. If we are, we're living with our dogs all the time, right? And so there's constant communication going back and forth, and it's really important that we learn what that communication is saying. We don't have to overcomplicate it in learning it, but we need to know, is our dog seeking out more from us? Are they kind of saying, I need some space, I need some time, I need to do my own thing for a little while, or other variations of that. But in order for us to be able to build that connection and build that trust with our dogs, we have to be able to have a two-way conversation. And sometimes it literally means, we are talking to them with our English words more often in order to make things clear to them, because dogs understand a lot of language that we give them. They're very good with receptive language. So, looking at that, so we want to kind of, when something is happening with our dog, there's a communication, there's a need that needs to be met there. So we need to sort of pause and reestablish what that is or kind of connect with them in that way. So I work with a lot of shy, sensitive dogs. So I tend to find that sometimes their communication is a little bit more shut down and really subtle, hard to see. They don't have a lot of tools in their toolbox sometimes. So picking at these little things that they could build on, I guess, to help them learn to communicate better, but letting them know that, like, yes, I hear what you're saying. I get what you're saying. And sometimes we can't do exactly what they want us to do, but there are ways that we can get a lot closer to that. So I think being able to connect with them in that way, and just sort of, if we could do it in a really playful game-like way, or something that's reinforcing to them, which for some dogs, physical hands-on play is not all that reinforcing to them. So we have to figure out what works for them. So we'll be talking a lot about those reinforcement strategies and what motivates your individual dog.
Okay, so that's great. And so how do you see that leading into the official club adventure? Are you giving like a precursor of what to expect and some hands-on training stuff that we'll actually be doing at that event, which is coming up on May 31st, which is a Saturday? And you've called that the Connection Circuit. So it kind of sounds like it brings it full circle.
Yeah. So part of my plan for the pop-up talk is to give you guys a printable, like, PDF type thing, because it's not always helpful when we can have everything laid out right in front of us. And it'll help you make a list of things that really motivate your dog. So almost like a menu of things that you could access for them if you're like, you know what? We all need some downtime. We need some separate time from each other, but I can still give you some enriching things to do, but like, I got to go cook dinner, or I got to go do my stuff, that modern day craziness that life has become. So being able to pick things off that menu that you already know your dog loves to do. So you don't have to feel overwhelmed about, like, oh, what am I going to give him to do today? Or just continuing to give your dog the same thing over and over again. So they're little pieces like that you'll be able to put into sort of like a menu. And then what we'll do for the adventure is we will kind of do it, like in a circuit fashion. So there will be different stations throughout, and you can pick and choose which activities or which stations you want to go to based on what your dog enjoys. And it'll give you an opportunity to get a little taste of each of those. And you may find that there are certain things that your dog enjoys at home that they're not going to want to do during the club adventure, because there are other dogs around, there are new smells, they're outside versus inside, so it's not to say that just because they don't want to do it in one place, they wouldn't want to do it in another, but it will give you an opportunity to try those things out and to maybe think outside the box a little bit more based on what we talk about in the pop-up talk. And then, other people will be able to bring in some of their ideas as well. So I think it'll be a nice collaborative effort without adding a whole lot of work on your plate. More.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I know the official club adventure is being held here at the Golden Dog Playground in Barrington. So we do have a limit of 10 people. So we've got at the bottom here of your screen on the ticker, you'll see if you're interested in any of these events, just go on over to our website, goldendognh.com, and click on adventures. So you make sure that you get the access to that program. And then on June 3rd, normally it happens at the end of the month, but the way the holiday is running this year and with where the program lands, Laura will join us back on June 3rd for our member-only Ask the Expert session, where she'll bring everything full circle, wrap it all up, the learning, answer any questions from our members, as well as it pertains to what we've learned for the month, or dog training in general, because Laura is a certified professional dog trainer. And because she has some great specializations, but obviously she can answer questions about dog training as a whole. So I'm very excited for this month. I love the balance. I love the focus on humans and on canines. You always do such a great job with that. And I love your membership as well, because I know that you've brought a lot of attention on working with people whose dogs might feel uncomfortable too in a setting with a stranger, the dog trainer. and you've been able to make it more comfortable. You've come up with creative ways for people to submit video and for you to, like in a Zoom setting or something like that, to be able to watch. And I have to kind of chuckle because I hear Willow kind of pinging on her Kong in the back
The
there,
whole
but
time. The whole time.
she's completely comfortable, and that's what I love. And that's the same thing that, you know, your membership, your online coaching delivers for people who, you know, most of us who have reactive dogs. I mean, you and I have talked, you know, very well. So it's a more comfortable environment, and I really appreciate that you've found a creative way to offer that to pet parents.
Yeah, I think well, certainly when I work with more shy and sensitive dogs, they appreciate that I'm not in their home as a stranger. And then I think their parents, the dog owners, also appreciate that I am not there trying to teach them something brand new while they're worrying about how their dog is doing over there, you know. And even if it's not a shy dog, even if it's a dog who wants to be jumping and barking and whatnot, you know, isn't it nice to be able to learn something new without this high level of distraction of worrying about what your dog is doing? So that's where things really shifted for me, is just, if you're learning something, just like in school or anything you're learning, right? Like ideally you don't want to be, it's really hard to learn stuff when you're really distracted by a bunch of stuff going on around you. So, so that's where I was like, oh wait, that makes so much sense. Let's do this virtually, but it's different for people. Yeah. So it does work pretty well though, I found, for certain dogs and certain people. So
that's great. Yeah. Love it. Yeah. Well, we've got a great month planned for you. So again, go over to goldendognh.com. You can get more information on the events. You can learn more about Laura, and you can sign up if it's something you're interested in. So thank you for tuning in today. Laura, thank you so much for taking some time to talk to us about what we can expect this month. And I look forward to connecting with you at the Pop-Up Talk next week.
Perfect. Thank you, Tracy.
All right, everyone. Have a great day.
Bye.